Ted, do you believe you have a soul?
What did you think I would do at this moment when you're standing before me with tears in your eyes? That answer your question?
Hello, everybody. Welcome back to Fanzone Debate. We are here starting off our season with the Last Word event. It's the second one of these we've done, the 2026 version. Very exciting. Lots of great players in here today, and I got a couple great judges helping me out with this one. First off, we got the champ, the winner of last year's event. We got Amaru Moses here. Rue, welcome to the judges' seat. Thank you for being a part of this. What do you think about being here today on the other side of things?
I'm very happy. I think I asked you like 3 years ago to start judging, and this is the first time you've allowed me to actually do it. And judging one of the hardest rounds to judge over and over and over again should be pretty fun. But as the champion, if you're mad at me about it, come get the belt.
That's fair. And then we got Jeremy Potters here. Jeremy, thank you for being here. Yeah, we had a few judges drop out, and I was like scrambling, and then I was like, who knows movies and also doesn't like have bullshit? They're just straight arrow, and I'm like, Mr. Potters. So I reached out to you, and you were gracious enough to come and help. So welcome, thank you. And how are you doing? What do you think about how it's going to go today?
I have no predictions other than somebody's going to win, and somebody's probably going to get mad at me. And because we have the champ judging, and then a guy who is 0-0-0. Maybe that will change later in the year, I believe. But I'm happy to be here, and I'm excited to see how these shenanigans roll out, you know?
Yeah, absolutely. All right, so here's how the last word is going to go. Basically, it's a bunch of speed rounds. So we got 12 participants. 2 players on screen at a time going through a random category, a random question on that category. They're going to have to pick their answers and debate the question in our speed round format before our souls here tonight. So they're going to get 45 seconds followed by 30 seconds at the end of the debate. We're going to decide who won that question. That player will move on to the next round. At the end of the speed rounds, whoever makes it out to the end will go up against whoever lasted the most rounds in a full prep question. I have supplied that question to all the players. They have given me their answers to that question ahead of time. And so we will see what happens for that when we get there at the end. And whoever comes out of that normal full round will be the winner and have a title shot. So we will see what happens there. So we are going to kick it off with our first players. Number one player coming in is Mr. Jack Pinchuk. Jack, welcome, Jack. Yeah, it's going to be fun, Jack. I'm excited that you're here because you're going up against number 2. You told me, oh, number 1, damn. As long as I'm not playing Alex Martinez. Well, Alex Martinez is number 2. Alex, welcome. I thought that was like, I sent Jack to Homer Simpson, just like, backing up. It's like, oh, no. So this is going to be fun. We're going to get started. Jack and Alex, are you ready?
Yeah. Sure.
Okay, guys, the category that was randomized for your question was animation. Your question will be in the private chat. Your question is, I'm going to say the question twice, then you can answer, okay? Your question is, what is the best animated film of the 2010s? This can be across fandom or regular movies. What is the best animated film of the 2010s, fandom or otherwise?
Your Name.
All right.
Coco.
All right. Coco versus Your Name. Jack, you get to go first. You have 45 seconds on the clock when you start talking.
Your Name is without question one of the most beautiful movies I've ever seen. That's on a story level, animation level. everything in that movie is just dialed to perfection. You get a brilliant romance between two characters who, for the vast majority of the film, don't interact face to face. It's a little difficult to explain, but it's a body swap movie, and it follows the lives of these two people in Japan who keep crossing over into their lives, and them trying to figure things out. And then suddenly they stop and they have to figure out what happened and how to find each other. And it is just a beautiful story from start to finish, and it makes me cry every time at that magic hour scene. It is just perfect.
Okay, Alex, 45 seconds when you start talking.
Coco is the also brilliant tale it's really the story of a family that is sort of fallen apart in the absence of grief. They have taken the music out of their lives, taken the joy out of their lives. The death, the passing on, or the near passing on has taken the grief and the joy out of their lives. And even though it's set in this sort of Mexican culture, it's really a story that anybody can understand. And I think that's really what the problem with Your Name is that Your Name is so set in the Japanese traditions that it actually, you kind of lose aspects of it in translating it over or even watching it in the dub in a way that Coco doesn't, because Coco was primarily made for an American, or in fact a Western audience. And I think what that does is that makes it a slightly more universal.
Time. Okay. All right, Jack, 30 seconds.
I disagree fully with that take. It's deeply rooted in Mexican culture. Coco is, and while yes, it is a bit of a culture shock for both cases, I think Your Name is just fine on its own. If we're talking Coco, it's really good. I kind of like Book of Life more, which came out before that movie and has a great cast and some incredible musical numbers. And the animation in Coco is great. Your Name is so much better.
Time. Alex, 30 seconds.
What Your Name and what Your Book of Life have that don't have that Coco does is the final heartbreaking scene. First of all, it has an incredible amount of fun, which Your Name frankly does not have. But when you get down to it, all that fun is leading to this final crescendo of a moment. And you get one of the most simply heartbreaking moments of the entire 2000s, animated or not. You get Remember Me, which is something that no animated movie can hit you that hard.
Okay, time. All right. I'm going to do a little switcheroo here with us. There we go. Boom. All right.
Every time I do a speed round question, my chest tightens. I don't know why.
Well, this is the event for you then. All right. Good start. 2 great movies. I've seen these. Wow. I went with Alex. I thought that his last little bit about Coco having fun and having that really heartbreaking moment at the end, kind of making it the all-around better movie, I thought was a really good hit. So I went with Alex. Rue, where are you thinking? Oh, you are muted, my friend.
Did that way before this round started. Forgot I had it. I have not seen Your Name. I have seen Coco a bunch. But I basically went with the person. One person kind of debated why their movie was better. Another person explained their movie and gave an opinion. So for me, I also went Alex, who also smells good.
I have heard that. And Jeremy, your vote doesn't count. Where would you have gone and why?
I also would have said Alex. Mainly, like, I thought it was pretty even on the closings. Is the opening, the more mass appeal, more accessibility for everyone. Like, that point really kind of took it, I guess.
All right, so Alex moves on. We must say goodbye to Jack. Jack, feel free to sit in the back and watch if you would like, but otherwise you are free to go, my friend. Thank you for being here. Alex is moving on, and he will be going up against the number 3 competitor. Third competitor, entrant number 3 maybe is the best way to say that. Number 3 coming in is Mr. Joe Farrelly. Joe, welcome. So, yeah, this is fun. Alex and Joe, you guys are getting your question in the category of Oscars. Your question is very simply the same question we used last year. What 2025 film should win Best Picture? Again, what 2025 film should win Best Picture?
K-pop Demon Hunters.
Okay.
One battle after another.
Okay. K-pop Demon Hunters versus One Battle After Another. Alex, you get to kick it off. You have 45 seconds on the clock when you start talking.
I think for years, a massive critique of the Oscars has been their refusal to acknowledge streamers, to acknowledge Netflix, to acknowledge animation, to acknowledge populist movies. K-pop Demon Hunters is the movie going in to this year. On top of dominating the music chart, it is a genuinely exceptional piece of animated work. In the vein of something like Across Into the Spider-Verse, movies that people actually watched and like. It gets Netflix their Oscar. It gets animation their Best Picture. I mean, this is the movie that we should all be rallying behind. I know that One Battle After Another is kind of the film bro choice, but that would be an exceptionally boring and populist pick. It would drive more and more viewers away from the Oscars.
Joe, 45 seconds.
I think the reason One Battle After Another should win Best Picture is because it is a movie that is more than just its story. I think it's because it has something to say, and it also is a mixture of things. Best Picture should be a collaboration of all the things: best actors, best performances, directors, editing, visuals, everything you get from that, even just from that little car chase at the end, everything that Paul Thomas Anderson is doing in that, with his direction, the skill, everything he's putting on screen, the performances of your actors, whether it's your lead actor, your lead actress, and all the supporting cast around it, everything about that film elevates it into being a Best Picture. It's more than just the story it's telling. I think it's, and the message it has. A Best Picture film should also have a message behind it, and I think the messages it takes on things like immigration and things like that, and the way sort of ice acts and things like that, it's very cultural, it's very relevant this time. It's why I think it needs to hit Best Picture in 2025 most.
Time. All right, Alex, 30 seconds.
I think to deny that K-pop Demon Hunters doesn't have a message would be ignoring what the message is. What is the Hanmoon except the barrier separating two people, and that one side has agreed that it's bad for them to stay on one side. You want to talk about messaging? How about the messaging of Rumi being essentially what is an interracial child that is stuck presenting as one when having sort of underlying visible markers with the other? K-pop Demon Hunters, again, just once again, is the movie, message and all.
Time. Joe, 30 seconds.
I felt the problem with K-pop Demon Hunters, I don't think it has such that, I don't think it puts that message as forward, and I think a lot of it is lost in the music. I think there's definitely a best original song in there, but I think it essentially gets lost in the music. I think when you come away from that film, I think what you're left with is the music rather than the message. Whereas with One Battle After Another, when you come out of it, you are talking about multiple different things, whether that is Leo's performance, whether that is the direction, whether that is the car chasing, whether it is the editing, whether it is the message itself. I think all those things combined to put it as best feature. Whereas K-pop Demon Hunters, I think you're left talking about one thing and one thing only.
All right. Good stuff.
I love you, Alex.
When I did the randomizing and I saw you three right up the top, I was like, Alex is gonna have a great time with this if he makes it out of round one.
My wife was just reminding me to breathe.
That's fair. That's funny. All right. Jeremy, why don't you kick us off?
Mainly because Joe addressed like technical issues, which are all taken into account for Best Picture. It's a Joe. It's also a really great counter that like people walking out of K-pop Demon Hunters might just be remembering the music and like kind of glaze over the rest of the movie. So I went with Joe.
Okay. I also went with Joe. Pretty much the same reason. I thought he did a good job, kind of talking about Demon Hunters has good music. It's got like that going for it. I think Alex had a good counter for the like message. Like, no, there is messaging in K-pop Demon Hunters, but I think Joe kind of talking about whether the performances, the visuals, like the writing, like everything about One Battle After Another is setting it up for it. Whereas Demon Hunters is a good movie, but it doesn't have all of that behind it. So, which I still have not seen Demon Hunters. I've heard good things. Rue, thoughts?
Please watch it with Ellie. Please do. I went with Joe, the guy who I beat for my defense. It was actually Alex I did. Alex made me pause a lot though, because his counter on the messaging was really good. I just feel like Joe gave me more about the movie, and Alex gave me more about why it would work for the Oscars. I also didn't really hear too much defense against One Battle After Another, more than it's a film bro movie. Even though Joe wasn't very specific at the beginning about how the performances were great and how the technical was great, he gave me a little bit more than Alex did about the movie overall.
Awesome.
I haven't seen it. Good luck, Joe.
All right, Alex, thank you. You're more than welcome to hang out backstage and watch, but we are going to move on, and we are going to bring in our next player. Player number 4 is someone who had an incredible season in debate last year. Looking forward to seeing him back here today. And it is Mr. Chadwick Webb. Chadwick, welcome, sir.
Thank you.
All right. Chadwick, Joe, your question is coming from the category of musicals / music films. Your question is, what is the most overrated musical or music film? Again, what is the overrated musical or music film? This can be, again, across fandom, regular films, whatever you want.
The Greatest Showman.
Let me go with the most overrated. Let me go with I'll go with Gigi.
Okay. All right. Joe, you spoke first. You're going first. You have 45 seconds on the clock.
The Greatest Showman, I think its biggest strengths do come from its music alone, but I think when you focus on the story, I think a lot of it is very, very basic. It's just the basic, and it is Hugh Jackman trying to be what he wants to be in real life, which is the greatest showman. But I think a lot of that falls flat when you look at the story itself, and just even on a basic sort of story analysis, when you look at the way he sort of brings in these people, the sort of the savior of everybody, I think it really just doesn't have that impact. When you actually look at the history of who P.T. Barnum was, it's a very, very problematic person, and sort of glorify that and sort of gloss away from what could be a rather interesting story about someone who's not 100% good and not this great person all around. I think when you gloss over that and you focus purely on how the good things, I think it's not necessarily good. I think the music is the only thing you can come away from that, whereas the story itself is bland.
Chadwick, 45 seconds.
When you look at The Greatest Showman, when it's like a kind of a biopic musical, I mean, honestly, a lot of people don't really care if you're really accurately, portraying people as they are. Really, they mostly just care about the music. And I think that's why this thing is popular, is because the music's so good. You have Zendaya and all of these great people in the movie just like performing so well that people want to listen to those songs. With Gigi, it was nominated out the wazoo. Not only was it nominated, but it won like everything. And like one of the opening musical numbers is about how it's basically a guy like creeping on little young girls. And when you start that movie like that, it only, can go downhill from there. And you're just like, why was this thing even nominated, let alone won Best Picture?
Joe, 30 seconds.
And I think when you look at the history of the Oscars and you have a look at the history of Best Picture, I think there are a lot of things that aren't mentioned anymore. No one talks about anymore. I think Gigi is one of them. I don't think Gigi can be considered overrated because I don't think it's something that culturally now in 2025 is something that's brought up. It might have been problematic and it might be problematic now, but I don't think it's overrated because I don't think it gets the consideration anymore. The reason The Greatest Showman is overrated is because people still talk about it. You know, they bring it onto stage and they bring it onto, and they still play and they still want to play the music and still talk about the music about it, but they never talk about the film, and that's because the film is poor. And I think that's what it comes down for.
Time. Chadwick, 30 seconds.
The Greatest Showman was never like nominated for like a bunch of awards or anything. People really like the music. So, I mean, if the story is overrated, you know, whatever, people don't really talk about the story. They talk about the music. That's why it holds up. And it does hold up. The songs are really good. When you look at something in the lexicon of film of the Academy and Gigi is up there as like one of the best musicals, that's what it's rated. And then it falls so short when you actually watch it that you're like, this is problematic. The songs aren't really good. And, you know, The Greatest Showman is better than Gigi overall.
Time. Okay. Good stuff, guys. All right. Amr, why don't you kick us off?
This was a good one. This is a really good one. I ended up going with somebody who had a counter who was really strong for me, and I don't think the other person was able to give me something to battle that as well. The whole thing about the fact that Gigi is not talked about really hit, and his whole thing about the Oscars not being as big as a thing is what gave it to Joe, the Demolition Man.
All right, Jeremy.
I went the other way, kind of in the same argument. I went with Chad. Like Joe had a great response, but then Chad came right back and talked about how much better Greatest Showman is, and that people remember and talk about it, even though Gigi did get all those nominations and awards, and that does matter. I mean, when you look at older movies and how they're rated, like that's the stuff you're going to go on. So I give it to Chad.
Yeah, I'm somewhere in the middle of you guys. I did end up going with Joe. I thought that Joe's counter that Rue brought up, you know, just bringing up the fact that nobody really talks about Gigi. So how can it be overrated if no one's really talking about it? I thought Chad had a good response to that by saying, like, you know, if you look up like the best musicals of all time lists, it's up there. And so and I thought that his initial attack on Showman was great, of being like, people love the music, they love the performances of the music, and that's what matters. I thought that was strong, but I think Joe just, especially with that Gigi point, made a really good a point to get the win. So Chadwick, that unfortunately ends your time, but
that's okay. I hope you go all the way, Joe. I've never beaten you. One day I'll get you. Thanks, guys.
Thanks, man. Feel free to hang out and watch if you want, but otherwise we will see you next time. Okay. Joe hangs on, has officially made it 2 rounds. You're the first, Joe. Great job. All right. So we are moving on to the next player. The next player entering is I like this person. He knows things. He does things. It's Tyler Birch. You guys know each other, right? Tyler, this is Joe.
This is a first.
Oh, okay. Oh,
yeah.
I heard some rumors about him, but he's shorter than I imagined, though.
Yeah, didn't know if you guys knew each other. Okay. All right. So Tyler is the number 5 player, and you guys are coming in for the next question, which is in the category of war films. War films. Your question is, what is the most intense war film? Again, most intense war film.
Fury.
Okay. Real quick, can you guys hear my washer at all?
Nope.
No. Okay. Okay. Good. It's really loud to me, so I want to double check. I'll go with 1917.
Okay, Fury versus 1917. Someone backstage just made a very big reaction to that I loved. All right, Joe, you can kick us off with 45 seconds.
I think when you take Fury from Norman's perspective, I think it really is the most intense film. I think you get a little different there. He's a typist that is thrown into this world and thrown into this tank, and he's made to do so many things, and it's such a harsh world. You know, he's made to kill someone. You know, Brad Pitt holds that gun and makes him kill a prisoner of war. He makes him do that, and that's intense. You then have the scene where he sees a kid and doesn't think anything of it, blows up the tank. Again, you've got that intensity. And that final battle sequence, the four of them standing up against 300 SS officers, and they're just in this one confined space, and I think that's what makes it intense. I think what David Ayer manages to do with Fury is to put you into this really, really tight, contained world that is that tank. And I think it makes it really, just when you feel it, when you look at it from from Norman's perspective, and he is in the middle of that, and he is doing all these things, and this is something that is new for him, and he is scared and he is terrified, and you feel that every time. And as an audience member, that makes it feel really tense.
Time. Okay, Tyler, 45 seconds.
So 1917 is a film about a journey that you take every step of the way with the soldier, the soldiers you are following. The reason why it's intense is because you feel every moment of it. You feel like, even though it's not first person, it practically, because of the way they shoot it, it feels like it is. When you are from the perspective of the soldier, there are scenes like when the plane goes down the hill and then it reappears and he has that fight. Every fight feels like it's visceral because of the fact that you've been following this guy along this entire journey. Everything has been going on. It's all very chaotic, and you aren't sure if he's gonna live or die. I remember the scene where there was the shadows with the flares. That scene was very intense because you didn't know what was lurking in the shadows. You felt that fear. You feel every emotion that they feel.
Joe, 30 seconds.
One of the issues I have with 1917 is there is a break partway through, obviously, when he hits his head and he goes into the water, and I think there's a little bit of just a relaxation and levity. The only moment you get sort of like that in Fury is when they go into the house and they meet the two women, but then you have John Bernthald's character come in and he's just being vile and aggressive, and that creates tension even between the crew of the tank. And I think that's where Fury differs from 1917. I think even when you get these moments of sort of relaxation, I think Fury amps it up by having the tension between the crew. Whereas with 1917, when he's on his own, he is just purely on his own and can relax.
Time. Tyler, 30 seconds.
So isolation is intense. When he loses his friends, it's intense. Like you feel everything that he's feeling. You go on this journey with him. With Fury, you're inside of a tank. There's a lot of less intensity when you're within a metal machine that is usually not destroyed. And you say that the levity ruins it, but honestly, like, the reason why intensity gets ramped up is because of those moments of levity. So giving him that opportunity to take a little bit of a break, means that our nerves can settle just to get ramped up all over again.
All right. Ellie, big fan of that round.
I thought I was saved because I missed music, and then this category came up.
I thought if one other person voted for Chadwick, I was going to curse him out. I was like, first sports, now musicals. Damn you, Tim.
Kind of waited to do this till after I did my podcast episode on Saving Private Ryan, could you?
Thanks, though, guys. These good answers.
I think Tyler and I both probably considered Saving Private Ryan and both knew what the counter to that would have been.
I thought someone would have. The movie I thought of was Hacksaw Ridge, and then
I thought about that one too for a bit.
You noticed I slipped and almost said Desmond, and then meant no, Norman. That was Hacksaw Ridge. That was the other guy that doesn't really want to kill people.
I would have said In the Army Now, just to see if I could defend it.
The intensity is that
Right.
you're forced to watch this movie. That's the intensity.
All right.
Okay. Really good. Yeah, this was great. I thought that both picked really great movies and explained why their movies are intense. Kind of came down to the counters. I did end up going with Joe. I thought that Tyler had a really good counter with saying like isolation is intense and can be intense, but I thought Joe did enough to kind of describe like why even the quiet moments of Fury are even more intense, and with the characters, and then you take into account all the crazy action and all the stuff going on and the ending. I thought Joe did a good job, but Tyler did great too. Rue, what are your thoughts?
Yeah, this was extremely close. This is probably the hardest one so far to figure out. The counters were both great, and the reasoning behind why they picked their choices were both great. At the end of the day, I just had to go with my gut, who in the moment made it feel more intense while they were describing. So just a reminder, both of these guys have one less title than I do, but I went with Joe.
Okay, sounds good. Jeremy, where would you have gone and why?
Yeah, I also would have said Joe. I just think his counter was so strong by talking about how like there's a lull in the movie, but like in the scene with the ladies, like even that's intense because of the way the guy starts behaving. Like he brought in like even the slow spot is an intense part of the movie, and I think that was what pushed it over the edge.
I had to.
Sorry, guys, I got to pause
lull.
real quick. Sorry. All right, Tyler, great job, but Joe wins the round. Tyler, feel free to hang out, watch, but we are going to move on. Bring in our next player. Our next player is not here. Now he's here. Okay, so we are bringing in the next player. The next player is Robert Kastner. Robbie Casts, as they say. All right. Robert Kastner is going up against Joe Fairley. And guys, your question is going to be in the private chat. It is in the category of romance. Love. You gotta love. The question is, what is the best romance film of the 2000s? Again, what is the best romance film of the 2000s?
The Notebook.
Eternal Sunshine of the Spotless Mind.
Okay. Robert, you spoke first. You get to go first. You got 45 seconds on the clock.
I think when you think of quintessential romances of the 21st century, The Notebook is the first one that comes to mind because it's a story of love throughout the ages, and it's a story about how love can persevere even despite the most harrowing of circumstances, whether that's war or whether that's later in life when somebody's identity is sort of they're losing their identity, and the person who you love is not the person you love necessarily anymore. All of that, plus it gave us one of the best on-screen romance options with Ryan Gosling and Rachel McAdams. And then we had a third portion of that with James Marsden. I don't think there's anything that compares. I think it's kind of the gold standard. I think when people think of romances, even from the century, not just from the decade, they think of The Notebook. I think they think of Eternal Sunshine maybe less as a romance.
Time. All right, Joe, 45 seconds.
When you talk about romance, the reason Eternal Sunshine works even better is because it treats love like it's a choice. You talk about getting through love in the most harrowing of circumstances. What about deleting those memories and still coming back to it? I think that is the most amazing depiction. I think that's what film does the best. It takes something that you can't do in just your general love story, and the film makes it something different by framing it in this way of this sci-fi way of deleting the memories and still coming back to each other. I think that is an even more magical description of love and romance, and I think it's something that you can only do in film. I think it treats love like it's a choice because they keep coming back to it. They're not being forced into it. It's not destiny. They are coming back to each other and they are choosing to be with each other. It might not work out, but they keep choosing each other because their love is meant to be.
Time. Robert, 30 seconds.
Joe, I think if you're thinking of the most different type of romance movie, or like something that's a little outside of it, best sci-fi romance, or something like that, that's an extra qualifier, you could say Eternal Sunshine. But I think when you're talking about romance, I don't think it has to have like an outwardly magical quality. I think if two people are in love and they find themselves in love throughout the entirety of their life and they find their way back to each other, it's a choice for them too. Rachel McAdams has a choice between the rich person and between Ryan Gosling, and she chooses to go with Ryan Gosling in the end. And even when things look the worst at the end, when they're not themselves again, they're still there. Eternal Sunshine, they made a choice. He made a choice and essentially Billy.
Joe, 30 seconds.
Yes, it tells it in a different way, but it's not. It's better than telling it in a generic way of a couple that keep fighting, going against it, trying to be together, and so they eventually come together. And the only thing that sort of saves the Notebook is that sort of. But even that ending is still kind of sappy. I think what Eternal Sunshine does differently is that the way it frames it, the way it frames Joel and Clementine, it's that sort of that impulsive nature, and it's that. They feel the characters, despite the sci-fi setting, feel recognizably human. You see them going through the mistakes. You see them making those choices every time they get together. You see them making different mistakes and the same mistakes, which is exactly what romance is. With the Notebook, I just feel like it's generic and cliche throughout.
Okay. All right. We are starting with, I believe, Jeremy on this one.
I gave a point to Bobby C. Robert. I think he made a great counter about Joe's movie needing a qualifier. Like Joe, you're trying to use the sci-fi angle, and instead of it just being the romance that carries it, I thought that counter was the difference in the argument.
Okay. I also went with Robert. Joe had a good run. I thought that Robert, kind of bringing it down to like, the qualifier and being like, if we're just talking straight romance, like the romance here is just the gold standard. I thought was really good line. So I gave it to Robert. Rue, your thoughts?
I really like this one. The Joe talking about the love being a choice as his qualifier for this movie was really, really good. It actually came down to Robert for me, the guy who actually beat me here last year. The one thing that put it over with me was adding the addition of the best romance couple, because it was really close and I needed to cling on to something, and that kind of stood out over everything.
All right. Robert, you move on. Joe, made it 3 rounds. We'll see if we see Joe again at the end. We'll find out. So, Joe, feel free to stick around. So, we're going to move on to the next question and the next player. The next player coming in, also having a sneaky good season last year in debate. We are bringing in Adelaide Spence. Adelaide.
No!
Really funny because last year, Robert upset the number one contender so far, and then I came in to ruin his chance at it. So we'll see what happens this time.
That did happen. I forgot about that. All right. So the category that Spence and Robert will be debating is the category of family films. The question is, which family film has the best cast? Again, which family film has the best cast?
I'm going to say Home Alone 2, Lost in New York.
Okay.
I'm going to go with Fantastic Mr. Fox.
Okay. All right. So, Robert, you can begin. You have 45 seconds.
I think the 90s was kind of fraught with a lot of these types of family movies that try to bring a lot of alt personalities or alt actors together. And I think Home Alone 2 did it in quite an interesting way. I think we had the essential cast of who was there in the first one. We had Macaulay Culkin, we had Catherine O'Hara, we had John Hurd, we had all those people. And then to create a bunch of foils when Kevin gets to like the Plaza Hotel, especially the additions of like Tim Curry and Rob Schneider as the people who are trying to out him as not actually having any parents there, and the foils from there, in addition to having the Sticky Bandits back with Daniel Stern and with Joe Pesci. I think they all kind of come together and conglomerate well for a family movie that's also kind of like an adventure movie.
So, Spence, 45 seconds.
If we're gonna break down some of the greatest actors, not just of all, not just 21st century, but all time, George Clooney, Meryl Streep, Bill Murray, Willem Dafoe, all deserve to be there. You round it out with people like Jason Schwartzman and Owen Wilson. You have an all-star cast. You're getting some of Wes Anderson's best people in a really delightful, funny, sweet family film. They are also giving incredible performances. Wes Anderson, as a director, does something that no other animation directors do. He put all the cast in the rooms filming their dialogue together. He wanted that interpersonal connection, the back and forth that you only really master when you're talking to another person. And I think the way that it does that allows for the shining of these performances. And I think on top of that, these are like weirdly deep performances. You think of family films as being light, but no, George Clooney and Meryl Streep really investigate their characters.
Time. Okay. Robert, 30 seconds.
I think there's a lot of deep emotional stakes, especially when Kevin and his mom come back together at 30 Rockefeller Plaza. I think him with the pigeon lady. I also just want to take a little umbrage. I know, like, we'll accept Fantastic Mr. Fox, but when you look at IMDb, it's kind of more of an adult comedy that's an animation, as opposed to, like, family's like the last thing on the list because it deals with a lot of stuff that's kind of outside the like. I wouldn't show my 3-year-old daughter Fantastic Mr. Fox and expect her to glom onto things despite the fact that it's with stop motion animals. Like, I think that hurts in this film.
Spence, 30 seconds.
Number one is accepted, so it doesn't matter. It's a family film. Number two, I think the fact that you are giving Rob Schneider credit for the best cast is fucking ridiculous. He has kind of never been good in any movie ever. He is often the worst part of every movie he's in. He's literally a running joke in South Park for how fucking stupid he is in a film as an actor and as a character. I also think that picking Home Alone 2 is kind of strange. All you're doing is diluting the quality of the first film's cast. Yes, you're adding Tim Curry, but then you're bloating it out with people that you don't need. There's better ensemble members in that. That's Mr. Fox has no flaws. Brian Cox.
Brian Cox. Okay. All right. Rue, I believe you're starting.
Fuck. I am not sure about this pick. I ended up with my gut again. Both attacks on each other's. I actually didn't like each other's attacks. I didn't think either of them actually really worked too well, but their defenses for their own films were great. Really great. The thing that gave me revenge for Robert was he described, while Adelaide had a better cast on paper, he described how the people that they had worked together really well to enhance the first one. Adelaide had a little bit of that towards the end of their opening, but I grabbed onto Robert's more than I did Adelaide's, but damn, that was good.
All right, Jeremy.
I went with Spence. Like you said, both made a great case for their own movies, but I think Spence's defense against Robert's attack about it not really being a family movie, but it is a family movie. And then he took or the Rob Schneider shot kind of sealed the deal. Like, actually went at the cast of the other movie instead of just letting it go. So I went with Spence.
Okay. I think both times I've been the final person. I have to decide it. I went with Robbie C's. I think Rue kind of said what I was thinking of, like, Spence kind of started to get there at the end of theirs, but I agree that I thought the like attacks, like the family movie and it isn't, or maybe it's not. It's like I thought Robert did okay of saying like I wouldn't show this to my kid. Like yeah, but it still is like it didn't really totally work for me. And same with Spence's attack on Home Alone. I just thought like being like, oh, well, you know, Rob Schneider sucks. South Park said it. And I'm like, I don't care what South Park said. Like, do they work in the movie? And I thought that Robert explaining like Tim Curry, Schneider bringing in with Pesci and everyone else, it makes it the better cast. So Robert wins the point. And Spence, thank you for being here. We appreciate
Adrian Good fight, Spence. Good fight.
All right, so we are bringing in our next player. This is a new player, not new to TBNT Inc., but new to Fanzone Debate. So he will be debuting later this season. We'll see what he can do here today, but we're bringing in Mr. Mark Hover. Mark, welcome, sir.
Thank you.
All right, so we are going to get started. First off, Mark, since this is your first time, do you have any questions before we get started? I know I sent you the video, but are you
trial by fire. We'll figure it out.
All right, let's do it. All right, so the category that you guys are getting is action adventure. I'm going to say the question twice, then you can answer. This is across all movies, fandom, non-fandom, any action adventure film. All right, your question is, who is the best action adventure hero? Again, who is the best action adventure hero?
Indiana Jones.
Bruce Willis.
The character. Sorry.
Oh, John McClane.
Okay. And then Mark, before we get started, are you able to turn your camera so you're the other? Oh, that is beautiful, gorgeous. Look at that. All right. Indiana Jones versus John McClane. Robert, you get 45 seconds on the clock to start when you start talking.
We're looking at this category action adventure. And I think nobody sort of straddles the line the best of that as terms of character heroes like Indiana Jones. I think Steven Spielberg and George Lucas had this idea that they wanted to take this from 30 heroes because that's sort of the swashbuckling nature that they're trying to capture. And whether it's the Ark of the Covenant, whether it's the Holy Grail, whether it's the Ankara Stones, whether it's aliens, whether it's anything, Indiana Jones is like what I think of when I think of a hero in film. I think Harrison Ford brings such gravitas. I think it's funny, it's playful, but he's also the person that I trust the most. And it's not just what he does in the field, it's also his mind that he uses as well. I think the combination of all those things as action/adventure, Indiana Jones is the first person I think of across all of his films.
Time. All right, Mark, you get 45 seconds.
Yeah, when I think of John McClane, I think of just a normal New York City cop who shows up at a party and just rescues the day. Also, multiple time on Christmas, really spans genres as well, because you've got the action adventure, but then you also got the, it's during Christmas time, the first two. His wife's name is Holly. Ho, 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 now I have a machine gun. Like, it's just, there's so many quotes. It's such a quotable movie. And also 1988 was when these things started. And like Indiana Jones has some longevity in and of itself in Die Hard, and then it becomes a superhero, also like Indiana Jones. They're just not fun for the whole family, obviously. It is rated R, but you can watch it all year round, and especially at Christmas time, because yes, Die Hard is a Christmas movie.
Time. All right, Robert, you get 30 seconds.
I think Mark said Indiana Jones has better longevity. And I think when you look at what happens to John McClane over time, he becomes like a caricature of himself. I don't think there's anything you can glom on in the later movies, especially if this was just Die Hard versus like Raiders, then you would have a case. But I don't think that's really a case. And we're not talking about like which one can span genres. We're talking about who's the best action adventure hero. And I think Indiana Jones, he is that person. He is the gold standard. And he did it first. I think he walked so people like John McClane could run. And I think we dilute John McClane over the course of his films.
Time. Mark, 30 seconds.
Yeah, I love me some Indiana Jones, but my problem is the first two movies, right? Like, while great, if you actually look at the first one, they find the Ark of the Covenant without him, whether he's there or not. The second one, he just falls into that adventure. Like when I think of Indiana Jones, I think of The Last Crusade, and honestly, I love Sean Connery more in that. And again, then you go into fighting aliens randomly, and whatever he did when he was 80, like at least John McClane stopped when he was maybe 60.
Time when he was 80. That was funny. All right, good shit. Robert, is this your third or your second, or this is your third one, right?
This is the third.
Okay.
Yeah.
I realized I should have been keeping track of how many rounds you were in. So. All right, I am ready whenever you guys are. When he was like 80, or that was funny.
Nice to see you here, Mark. Nice to see you.
Yeah, nice to see you, Robert. Congrats on the Survivor win.
Thank you. Joe, you want to do? You can do 4 judges. We can do deadlocks.
We could do it the old way where there was somebody, just one person judging everything. Okay.
Yeah.
All right. This is great. Mark coming in for the first time, I think did a good job. I did go with Robert, though I thought that Mark's second, his 30 seconds was much stronger than his 45. He started out really talking great about John McClane, but he kind of went into why the movie is so good and less about the character. And I think Robert's 30 seconds against that of just being like, you know, McClane kind of becomes a shell of himself, I thought was really strong. Mark had a good counter to that of being like, you know, Indy's just kind of there in the first 2, even though the movies are great. Like, and then when he said the thing about, well, I like Sean Connery more, I'm like, that's a really good point. And then the last 2 or whatever. But I think Robert did enough in the first 2 to secure the win there. But I think Mark did a great job for his first time. So, Rue, what are your thoughts?
I agree. I think this came down to experience. Will the Steelers screw this up? We don't know, but I went to Robert. It really, Mark, I am very excited to see what you do here because you're going to be great at this. I just think it's experience knowing like the keeping to the question and not moving into other aspects of it. But you had some great points overall in general. So yeah, but I give it to Robert.
All right. Jeremy, thoughts?
Right, yeah, I'll echo a lot of what you said. I gave my vote to Robert, but Mark, yeah, great job. If you had taken that energy and directed it more towards the characters as opposed to the movies and the differences in the films that add up, like I think you might have had him. But great job. That was a great question. Like this one definitely made me happy.
Awesome. Well, Mark, congrats on a great first question. We'll see you in the season. I'm looking forward to seeing your debut. So, great job. But Robert makes it out. He's now tied with Joe for who's lasted the longest. So we'll see what happens next. But we are bringing in number 9. Number 9 for the next question. Just trying to get my bearings here. Okay. Number 9 is a returning player. We haven't seen him in a while. He's so happy to be here. It's the NT and the TBNT. It's Nick Tuig.
Oh, Jesus Christ.
This was almost Anna. You're lucky she's busy.
Dang it.
All right. So Nick and Robert, you are going to be discussing the category of biopics. Your question is simply, what is the best biopic of all time?
Oh my gosh.
Again, what is the best biopic of all time? Lots of options.
I'll do Amadeus.
You're fucking with me, right? All right. There's some Fanzone lore with Amadeus, but I'll say A Beautiful Mind.
Okay. Amadeus versus A Beautiful Mind. Robert, you're kicking it off. You got 45 seconds.
Never did I care about the consequences of classical music and rivalries at that time than before I watched Amadeus. I think when you're looking at making people aware of periods of history that they weren't aware of and bringing in a drama and a classism and making it not only like dire and dramatic, but also making it funny as well between what's happening with the two characters and having it span. And the performances are incredible. Obviously, F. Murray Abraham winning the Oscar. That movie won the Oscar. Tom Hulce coming off of like Animal House and being like an amazing foil as Mozart. I just think there's nothing that like over a sprawling period of time captures this sort of grandiose nature of what it is trying to get in a biopic like Amadeus.
Okay. Nick, 45 seconds.
When I start talking.
Yes.
Not counting it or that.
Yes, when you start talking.
All right. It's weird. You pitched an interesting idea, like a rivalry between musicians, even though it's classical music of the time. That sounds interesting. You're like, the movie made it interesting. Sounds pretty interesting itself. What doesn't sound interesting is the guy who invented a math theory. How do you make that interesting? Oh, you actually play out his schizophrenia. And people who aren't familiar with his story, because he's a much lesser known person than William Amadeus Mozart. Mozart, you got it. Shut up, Robert. He's a much lesser known person. So to bring people in and make them interested in this story, if you want to talk Oscars, Russell Crowe won the Oscar, the movie won the Oscar. Who gives a shit about Oscars? They don't make a movie good. They just pick their friends. It's an even better performance, and there's nothing around the rivalry of the two main characters. There's nothing else to focus on. There's a lot of other characters around Russell Crowe.
All right, Robert, 30 seconds.
I don't think the performance of Russell Crowe or anybody in that movie holds a candle to F. Murray Abraham. And I think that's played out with how it is that things were recognized. And I think the idea of how it is they play out as schizophrenia and all those people being fake and how there were a lot of liberties taken with what was going on. I know there's liberties with Amadeus, but I think more so with John Nash and how it is realism versus the fake things that are happening with his schizophrenia. There are a lot of problems with the pacing and how things played out with regards to A Beautiful Mind, where 3 hours with Amadeus, it doesn't matter. It was all thrilling.
Nick, 30 seconds.
No, it feels like 3 hours. You don't really care for the characters at the end of the day. John Nash is someone you do care about by the end. Once you realize that everything that's been happening, that has been building the thriller and suspense, has all been in his mind. That's the reason it's called A Beautiful Mind. At the end, you care about the character, and you care about that he really did go through these things, even though they didn't really happen in the context of the movie. Of course, there were liberties taken. There's liberties taken with every movie, but the what was shown to us is far more interesting than what happened in Amadeus. And at the end, even though it wasn't real, we still believed it was real to John, and that's why we care about him.
All right.
Sorry, I laughed at you.
I laughed at myself.
I couldn't help
I
it.
laughed at him. I mean,
Couldn't help it.
I distracted myself like 4 times in there. I was like, that was a funny thing I said. Oh, wait, I'm doing it.
Oh, that's funny. Oh, that funny thing I said.
Wolfgang, not William. Why I said William. It was a W.
Yeah, you were close.
W Amadeus.
All right. I believe we're going to Jeremy, right? No. Oh, no, it's me, isn't it?
No, it should be Jeremy again. He started off, I think, me, and it's the fourth round.
You started last.
So.
Oh, Jesus. Okay, go ahead. Go ahead, Jeremy.
I said Nick. Nick had a rebuttal for everything that Robert said. Like every single thing that Robert, every point he tried to make, Nick countered every single one of them. Awards don't make good movies. It doesn't have to be that real to care. Like that, every movie takes liberties. Like he did everything, and so I had to give it to Nick.
Thanks, Jeremy.
I also gave it to Nick. Despite laughing at himself, I thought, yeah, he had that counter was really good. I thought Robert did great too. I think I liked Nick's setup of being like, yeah, you said like, oh, you thought that sounds boring, like even though it's like this sounds boring. How do you make that interesting? And they made it really interesting. I thought his final 30 seconds of talking about why the movie works in the end and everyone surrounding him, I thought it was good. So Root.
I actually went with Spartan Racer Robert. I think Robert also had counters for everything Nick said. And at the end of the debate, I knew why Amadeus was interesting. I don't think Nick really gave me why in terms of being funny and dramatic and other things, why A Beautiful Mind was interesting other than him saying it's interesting.
Okay. Fair enough. All right,
I
so
agree.
Robert, stick around because currently you are tied for the most rounds. So we might have to do something interesting there at the end, depending on what happens. So, Robert, great job. But Nick moves on, and he's going up against player number 10. Player number 10
that I can see backstage
is the former champion, former challenger, current beautiful bearded man, Jacoby Bancroft.
He's the current beautiful bearded man. I don't know what you're talking about. Both.
This is a dream. Debating Nick. I've never debated.
God, yeah, no, this has been a long time coming.
And first of all, fuck off, Nick. You can't be like, oh, I hate being here. Then give like a killer argument. Like
I didn't think it was that good.
All right, guys, your question is going to be coming in the sorry, I just know Nick is going to be sad. In the category of horror. Horror is the category.
Okay. The worst.
Your question is, who is the scariest horror villain? Again, who is the scariest horror villain? This can be across fandom and non-fandom.
Freddy Krueger.
Bruce the shark from Jaws.
Fuck off.
That's funny. Okay, all right. We are going to start with Jacoby. 45 seconds on the clock for you when you start talking.
Freddy Krueger is the scariest horror villain of all time because no matter what you do, no matter anything that you try to do, he can always get at you no matter what. Because you always sleep. Everybody sleeps at any time of the day. You can try to fight it as long as you can, and you cannot fight sleep no matter how hard you try. Everybody in the movies has tried. It never works, and it always fails. Freddy Krueger can infiltrate you at any point you have and then warp your worst fears imaginable. No matter what you're scared of, he can pinpoint it, he can target it, and he will attack you for it and then kill you in some way for it. No matter and anything that happens for that in that sort of realm. Yes, he's kind of funny and kooky at times, but at the heart of who he is as a villain, he's someone who taps into your worst fear imaginable and can exploit it no matter what, no matter where you are, at any time, no matter who you are.
Time. Nick, 45 seconds.
What makes a horror villain scary is not like how they can access me. It's how scary are they when I come across them. Just because Freddy can get you at any time when you sleep doesn't make him scarier than the shark from Jaws, mirroring a real-life threat and something that probably preyed upon most people's childhood fears of shark attacks. When you've been in the water, you've probably been afraid of a shark at some point. The shark actually kills people in the movie in gruesome, vicious ways, and kills the people that are supposed to kill it. All you have to do to beat Freddy is apparently turn around and go, "I don't believe in you anymore. You're not my friend. Like whatever. You're not scary anymore." And he might have been a little goofy at first. He grew absolutely ridiculous to the point where he's playing video games, and you have to include Freddy as a whole. Like every subsequent movie, he gets worse and worse and more ridiculous, less scary.
Jacoby, 45 seconds.
Nick mentioned that Jaws was like a childhood fear. Like some people are afraid of the water. Great. If you have that specific fear, Jaws is a very scary enemy. Freddy, no matter what fear you have as a child, spiders, snakes, fears of heights, anything you have, Freddy can pinpoint it and target it no matter what he has. He says that, that Freddy can just be defeated. No, he can't. The point of Freddy, he always comes back. No matter what stupid thing they do to defeat him, he will always come back in the next movie and always terrorize your kids. Jaws, the Bruce, he explodes once, he's done. And don't go in the water if you're afraid of the shark. You can avoid him at all costs, and he can be defeated because he's an animal. Freddy Krueger is an entity of evil.
Time. Nick, 30 seconds.
Freddy does not always come back. That's why we haven't seen him since 2010. He only kept coming back in absolutely ridiculous ways because the studio wanted to make more money. The fact is, he was defeated at the end of every movie. They absolutely ridiculous ways, which lessened his scariness. He became more and more ridiculous, and he became more and more beatable. He got beaten in every single one of those movies by the people he was supposed to be scaring. All you have to do is get over your fear and realize, okay, I'm not that scared anymore. But you can't get over razor sharp teeth tearing into a guy who hunts sharks for a living. You stand no chance without a lucky shot.
That was a little bit over the time there. Without a lucky shot, striking from the record. Okay.
Hey, you stand no chance. Great. That was my end. Oh, I hate this. What am I doing?
I did get a message from Nick about 30 minutes ago going, "Oh no, Jacoby's 10, you fuck." So he was clearly excited about this.
It's fun. I got this. I've always wanted to debate you, Nick.
I've always wanted to do this too. That's why I was mad about it.
All right, Rue, kick us off.
This was great. This was just pretty damn amazing. I think both of them had great counters for each other. I think both of them had great attacks. I think both of them had great defenses. For me, don't go in the water beats you can't. He always comes back. Jacoby, he won't go in rivers apparently.
Jeremy.
I said Nick. Again, I'm on like kind of the opposite side of that point. Like I think he gets more ridiculous means less scary. Just because you beat the shark doesn't mean it's not scary as shit. So like, yeah, I give it to Nick.
And I agree with Jeremy. I actually thought, I what Jeremy just said, that I didn't think about it. Like I thought Jacoby's opening was phenomenal. And I thought everything was phenomenal, but Jacoby just being like, you can't fight sleep. I fell asleep in my chair for like 3 hours earlier today. Like, yeah, it's terrifying. And I liked his point too about Freddy pinpoints what you're afraid of and uses it against you. That's really scary. I like that. But I think what I didn't think about was Nick bringing up, like, every time he's defeated every single time, and every single time they bring him back in a ridiculous way, and he continues to get more and more ridiculous and not scary. And you got to take the whole. And yeah, what Nick said about just like the eating the man alive and it's like, oh yeah, terrifying stuff. So I went with Nick. So Jacoby, great job.
Keep going, Nick.
No, I don't want.
You suck. All right, so Nick has made it 2 rounds. We are bringing in the next player. That player is number 11. We have 2 players left, 11 and 12. Number 11 is Mr. Richard Schwartz.
Hello.
Richard, welcome. Your question, your category.
Oh, I don't know how to fix my thingy. I don't remember.
Sideways.
Okay.
Beautiful. All right. The category for you guys is directors. And your question is, which director has the best first film? Which director has the best first film?
Jordan Peele, Get Out.
Okay.
Best first feature length film?
Yeah. Yes.
That would be Frank Darabont, The Shawshank Redemption.
Hey. All right. So Richard will be going first for Jordan Peele, Get Out. Jordan. Richard, you have 45 seconds when you start talking.
Jordan Peele was known for his comedies, Key and Peele. He was on Mad TV. He did a lot of comedy stuff, but his first directional film, Get Out, was just a horror film that like warped the minds not only of everyone else, but just the shape of what we are today. It talks about racism, having to take over, like white people taking over African Americans' minds just to be in their body. It was a mind fuck. Sorry, my language, and that shaped, I think, horror films today. Like it was a truly like mindscape. And then Shawshank Redemption, it's a good film, but it's based on another person.
All right, Nick, 45 seconds.
I'm not gonna say tell you Get Out's a bad film. It's good, but like the spectacle of Jordan Peele is that he was a comedy guy and then he made a good horror movie. Like it's a good movie, but it's not an all-timer like The Shawshank Redemption. The fact is, Frank Darabont's Later films, maybe The Green Mile is an exception, are so much less regarded because he set the bar so high with his first one. Everyone's waiting for the next Jordan Peele thing, but again, they're really more gimmicks at this point because it's just so wildly different from what we knew him before. That's really it. Yeah, you mentioned you mentioned what the plot of the movie is, and it's a good movie. But The Shawshank Redemption is the greatest movie of all time, as said by me and as said by many other people. It teaches about the general human experience of hope, friendship, and so many more things. I'll tell you the next time.
Richard, 30 seconds.
Shawshank Redemption is a good film, but it wasn't his story. It was Stephen King's. Like, you read the book, you knew what you're going to get. Like, it's a good film, but Jordan Peele's creativity in this film, like, not only revolutionized like horror genre as itself, but it, like, you can see where, like, the twist in mind, like, the main character, like, has to fight for his life, fight for his own mind, his own body. And again, it's not
time. Nick, 30 seconds.
It didn't revolutionize anything in horror. You're literally just named the plot of Invasion of the Body Snatchers. Like that, this general idea has been used for quite a long time. The Shawshank Redemption may have been based on a short story that he turned into a 2.5-hour epic. I would say that's more impressive. You took one of Stephen King's lesser-known short stories and made it into the greatest movie of all time. That's what a director does. If you're talking about the story, cool. Jordan Peele's a good writer, but we're talking about the director's first movie and how they directed it. Frank Darabont did 10 times better than any other first director with any movie. Just happy I got to talk about it.
good to be here. Thank you for inviting me, Tim.
Yes,
always a pleasure.
Yeah. It's good to see you again. Nick.
Yeah, you too.
All right. I believe I am starting. Yes. Yes. Okay. I went with Nick. I thought that Nick did a really good job of explaining, like, yeah, Get Out's a good movie. But I think he did a good job of taking Richard's argument, just being like, you're basically just explaining the plot. There are elements from other movies there. It's a good movie. It's written well. But Shawshank is regarded as like one of the best movies of all time. I liked how he took Richard's point about, like, yeah, Get Out talks about these serious things, but Shawshank also has that, and it talks about like the human connection and hope and all that stuff. So I thought Nick did a really good job on this one. Rue, your thoughts?
Weirdly, I didn't hear too many arguments about why the movies were actually great outside of opinion. It's the greatest of all time, and it revolutionized. So I stuck with attacks on the other films, and I couldn't think of the first thing fast enough, or I'd have held you guys too long. So I went with Tuig because his attacks on Get Out were much better to me than the attacks on Shawshank.
All right, and Potters, what do you think?
I also said Nick, pretty much for the same reason you said, Tim. Like, it's like nothing to add, really.
Yeah. All right. Well, we're in an interesting situation. Richard, thank you for being here. We appreciate you. We'll see you soon. But Nick just tied Robert and Joe for most rounds. So if Nick doesn't win this one, we'll figure out what we'll do next after that.
Gotta figure some shit out anyway.
I've got a few questions ready to go for some tiebreakers, but okay. We're gonna bring in the final competitor. Number 12 is the former champion.
Yeah.
He is the first time competing in this event. He did not compete in it last year. He famously loves speed rounds. It's Mr. Brian Michaels. Mr. Brian Michaels. I sent him his number, and then a day later he says, how many people are in it? And I'm like, 12. So, all right. Here we go. The final question of this portion is coming in the category of actors and actresses. And your question is, which actor or actress working today should be more popular? Again, which actor or actress working today should be more popular?
Rebecca Ferguson.
Dev Patel.
Okay. We're going to start with Brian. Brian, you have 45 seconds when you start talking.
Rebecca Ferguson's obviously a very respected actress. People like her performances, but she's never broken through to that great popularity. I think that she consistently delivers strong performances across all kinds of genres, from sci-fi to action to dramas to period pieces. She often outshines her co-stars in all these movies that she does, but she's mostly locked into supporting roles. Once she left TV, she's really not had a whole lot of lead roles, and even when she does, it tends to be in things that where the franchise or the property overshadows her. So she does not reach the popularity. People don't give her the credit she deserves. Do they respect her acting? Has she gotten nominations for awards and things? Yes, but that does not equal popularity. I think that she needs to have more attention, more people that are going to actually root for her to be the lead in a movie. She needs to be the forefront of things and be more popular.
Time. Nick, 45 seconds.
Rebecca Ferguson could use a little bit more popularity, but she's still like usually the number 2 actor or 3. Like she's usually a very prominent side character in a lot of big movies, and people recognize her now. You know who they don't recognize, who should be the lead in a lot of other stuff? Dev Patel. You want to talk about Oscars? Slumdog Millionaire and his follow-up Lion, which I think is one of the most underrated movies of all time. Dev Patel is one of the greatest actors there is, and he's now switching genres into action with Monkey Man, and no one is seeing these movies, and they're fantastic. The Green Knight, no one saw it, but Dev Patel is such a great forward-leading man that he is someone who could absolutely take a project like the opportunities Rebecca Ferguson is getting and make a name for himself that way. The way she already has. People know her. She's popular. She was in The Greatest Showman. She sang a song.
Brian, 30 seconds.
You're saying that yes, people recognize Rebecca Ferguson. Recognition is not popularity. Just because they know who she is doesn't mean she is popular. Dev Patel is just as recognized. He was the face of Slumdog Millionaire. He was the face of Monkey Man. He's the face of Lion. Rebecca Ferguson has been in supporting roles where she needs to get that support, where she can take on those leading roles because she has great performances. They go from the subtle to the extreme, and things like in Dr. Sleep, where she stole the movie. She deserved the attention she got for that movie, and she deserves to be more popular and get more leading roles because of it. Dev Patel, he hasn't really done much in years. When he came back and tried to do Monkey Man, it's the genre outshined him.
Nick, 30 seconds.
Popularity is recognition plus likability. Everyone recognizes and likes Rebecca Ferguson. Nobody knows who Dev Patel is. They know Slumdog. They don't even know Slumdog Millionaire. You name 3 movies that a total of 10 people have seen in their entire life. No, they don't go to see his movies, even though he's fantastic. That's the definition of should be more popular. You walk down the street and more people are going to know who Rebecca Ferguson is over Dev Patel because of her great roles in things like Dune, in things like The Greatest Showman, in things like Mission Impossible. Dev Patel doesn't have any of those to point to, even though he has the Oscar recognition with
hey, strike.
Oh man.
Jesus. It wasn't enough, Tim. It wasn't enough that Nick had to end my first run here. He has to come and knock me out of this.
I wasn't even supposed to be.
It's not too late to withdraw.
Is it? I'll just say I didn't pick the best answer for the prep question.
For which one?
The prep question.
That's true, actually.
We'll see how that goes. If I make it there.
Okay, I'm ready. How are you guys doing?
Good to go.
All right. I believe we are to Mr. Moses, or is it me? I don't even know anymore. This is
I thought it was Jeremy. Jeremy went last time.
Yeah, okay, so then Jeremy, hit it.
I said Nick. It's very, very even. They're both made tons of great points. Nick's point about like his formula for popularity and like more people will recognize her because she's in these big movies. Like that's the definition of popularity. Like that point kind of drove it home for me.
There was a time doing this where I've been doing this long enough where I've had to judge people I consider friends, like everyone here who plays, basically. And but there was a specific time where everyone knew me and Cody were really tight, and I felt bad voting for Cody every time because I was like, people are gonna judge me and think that I'm like just voting for him because he's my buddy. And I feel that way today because I voted for Nick like every time. But Nick's really good at this. He doesn't like doing it anymore, but he's really good at it. And I thought that he just did a really great job of kind of what Jeremy said, taking Dev Patel and being like, he's in these movies and is the face of these movies, and they're very, very good, and no one is going to see them. And he started to get there with like the Slumdog Millionaire being like, no one even knows that anymore. I don't know how much I buy into that, but I think what he said about Rebecca Ferguson, like, yeah, she might not be the lead, but she's second build, third build. She's in big movies. People would recognize her. It kind of equals popularity. I like the pick, Rebecca Ferguson. I think it's good. I think Nick just kind of outmaneuvered it. Rue, what are your thoughts?
The answer was David Johnson, 100%. And I'm still mad at my first Fanzone speed round loss to Nick. But while I thought Brian had the better argument for his pick, I thought Nick had a slightly better attack on Rebecca Ferguson. So I slightly went Nick over Brian.
All right. Brian, thank you for being here. We appreciate you. Feel free to hang out and watch. But here's what's going on. Nick has made it to the end, though we're going to say goodbye to him for a moment because we need to bring back in two players. So we need to bring back in two players. We're going to bring back in Joe Fairley and Robert Kastner. They are both here. We're going to bring them back in because they need a tiebreaker question. So we're going to do a speed round question for Joe and Robert. Winner of that speed round question will move on to face Nick in the prep question. So, gentlemen, the question for the speed or for this last one is in the category of crime.
Sick.
And the question is, who is the best crime character? Who is the best crime character?
Michael Corleone. Kurt would be proud.
Travis Bickle.
Okay. We're going to start with Robert because he spoke first. Robert, you get 45 seconds for who is the best crime character.
I think crime films take all different shapes and forms, and I think the idea of creating a crime epic across 3 movies that tells the tale of like the greatest American crime story known to man, that of the rise of the mob and the Corleone family, is kind of the quintessential version of that. And the head of that is Michael Corleone. He is the central figure across all 3 films. You see him go from war hero to murderer to Golden Son to put on a pedestal as the crime boss, and how it is he has to drag his feelings about, how it is he has to evolve in this role, how he has to take his relationships and he has to string them out and change them and evolve with those, how he kills people, how he greases wheels. All these things make who Michael Corleone is across the epic of Godfather.
Joe, 45 seconds.
I think one of the interesting things about Travis Bickle is that he set a new standard for the way we perceive anti-heroes. I think the way you see the alienation, the obsession, the moral ambiguity of Travis Bickle as a character, the way he does these sort of terrible things, the way he obsesses over sort of the woman he's interested in, versus doing that really heroic act of obviously saving a child from some really vile crimes. I think it's a really interesting character, and I think it's one that stands out. I think the way Robert De Niro plays it is fantastic. I think we're watching all this stuff. We're watching go through this journey of turning himself into this sort of machine so he can go into it. I think it's a really interesting encapsulation of sort of like a one-man army against crime, but one that has his own issues as well. This could be a character you could absolutely root for if he was just doing that one thing of saving Jodie Foster, but it's not, because he does these other things that are vile and horrible. It's really interesting.
Robert, 30 seconds.
I think if we were doing most interesting crime character, I think you would have a case. And we were talking about anti-heroes. I think we had 2 full movies of Michael Corleone doing that in The Godfather, figuring out how it is he goes from doing things for his family, doing things for himself, and building out a crime empire, and how that goes into that. Travis Bickle, I mean, everything's about isolation, and I think without like the colorful characters and who it is he's trying to save and who it is he's going against, I don't think he's as interesting as Michael Corleone, because of everything that Michael has to do to evolve into the crime boss he is.
Joe, 30 seconds.
But interesting, some of the best movie characters are the ones that you can quote. You can do. You talking to me? You talking to me? You do that from Robert De Niro. You don't quote any Michael Corleone lines from The Godfather. You quote Vito Corleone's lines. Vito Corleone is actually the big character. You look at the way Robert De Niro does it in The Godfather Part 2. When it transitions to that flashback, that's actually the more interesting part of The Godfather 2. It actually waters down Michael Corleone's character because you are so focused on what Robert De Niro and what Vito Corleone is doing in those flashbacks. Whereas Travis Bickle, he is the forefront. He is the center of his film. Michael Corleone's character gets watered down in the sequels because it focuses on other people, whereas Travis Bickle is the standout. That's why he's the best character.
Fuck the both of you.
Oh, man.
I really hope that got picked up on camera. If it didn't get picked up, my wife just said that was the maddest thing I ever heard.
Wait, your argument against mine, or just like any specific?
I think it was the speed.
At which you were speaking. Yeah. That's funny. Oh, man.
Just want to say it's hard to beat somebody twice in the same go. Sorry. It's not fun.
All right.
Would I have won if I just shouted King Bob?
King Bob!
That used to be my text tone.
That's funny. All right. We are starting with Mr. Moses.
Again, fuck both of you. It was even. Like, I don't even need to explain how even this was. So really, again, judging is hard. Went with my gut to say what thing slightly beat out the other. And for me, I'll say this. I looked at Roberts. Maybe he beat somebody twice with less, like, I don't know what the fuck you're talking about, than Joe. When Joe said that you don't quote Michael Corleone. So, and then I liked Robert's point where what really hit home was I like Robert's point that he said Travis Bickle is only interesting because of the people around him. And I thought that was a good preemptive counter to Michael Corleone getting watered down by Vito.
Okay. Jeremy.
Yeah, also said Roberts. Many of the same reasons as Rue. Like, I think Joe was headed in the right direction, and then he started making a case for why Vito was a better crime character than instead of his character. And it just didn't quite hit at the end, so I went with Robert.
All right. I actually went with Joe. I thought Robert, I mean, again, I agree with Rue and that it was really close. I agree that I didn't like Michael Corleone doesn't have any quotes. Hold up. But I did like the what Jeremy was talking about with like the Joe talking about Vito. I actually enjoyed that and thought that was a good like knock against the fact that, well, you didn't even pick the best one in your movie, and that Vito kind of outshines what Michael's doing in part 2. And then the quote thing kind of like propelled that a little bit. But and I also liked what he had to say about the fact that like had Travis Bickle just been doing like the thing at the end, like saving Jodie Foster from a really, really bad situation, like he could be like almost a hero character, but he's so despicable and does all these other horrible things that makes it a way more interesting character, layered character that you can't help but look at. So I went with despicable. Shut up. Okay. All right. So with that, Robert is moving on to the finals. Joe, great job. We will see you soon, but we are going to bring back in Nick, and here is what's happening. It is Robert versus Nick in the prep question. Both players got the question. Both players supplied me with their answers. You guys, I'm 99% sure you didn't have the same answer, but I'm just double checking. Oh yeah, Robert had that answer that I loved. So Robert, just to confirm, you are going with your first pick, or do you want to change it? Okay.
No, I'll go with the first pick.
Okay. So, and Nick, you are going with your first pick.
Yeah, it's somehow better than my second one, so sure.
All right. The question at hand is what is the best movie to watch on a first date? I am going to let the players bring that to you. We are going to start with Robert as he came in. Well, no, we'll start with Nick because you made it to the finals. So that is how we did that last year. So, Nick, we're going to start with you. You have 1 minute on the clock to tell us what is the best movie to watch on a first date.
When I start talking, but not counting that. I have 1 minute to tell you what movie I'm picking, and I'd like to use 30 seconds of it to tell you why I don't like this question. I know the judges are going to think this is a weird tactic, but here's why. When you're showing someone a movie on a first date, you're trying to figure something out about them. Do they have the same sense of humor as you? Do they think the same dramatic moments in your favorite movie are also like awe-inspiring? So this is kind of a very personal question to each individual person. So I can only go with defining the terms as what could possibly get me a second date. And one that had worked for me in the past, long ago when I was on the scene, was Good Will Hunting. The reason being is people don't remember facts, what you tell them. They remember how you made them feel. And Good Will Hunting is perhaps the best sneaky feel-good movie there is out there. It hits emotional depths, but it doesn't go too deep to where you're putting this person off of like, oh, they're a psychopath. It hits humorous moments that you can laugh with together. And ultimately, it makes them feel good at the end with what Will decides to do. I will argue Robert's movie when he tells me what it is.
All right, let's bring in Robert. Robert, you have 1 minute to open your argument when you start talking.
I'm a little with Nick, and when you're thinking about a first date, you're really trying to understand the person that you potentially might have a second date with, and it's hard to do that through a movie. So when you're thinking about that, I was thinking of something that was, you can figure out sense of humor, you can figure out a lightness. You're not so engaged with the movie that you're not thinking about like if there's maybe a little bit of additional crosstalk, something that's appropriate for a theater, of course. And the movie I came up with was Hitch. Now, Hitch is a comedy in the 2000s with Will Smith and Eva Mendes. And it's very inconsequential in terms of like, it's a nice romantic comedy. It's nice, easy, and breezy. It has a lot of funny moments. It isn't something that has to engross you. Nick was talking about something that doesn't have as much emotional depth. I don't know what he's talking about with Good Will Hunting, but in regards to Hitch, there isn't much of that because it's a nice, easy, breezy rom-com. I think that's something when you're just getting to know someone, you can gauge what it is that they would laugh at, what it is that they might glom onto emotionally, without it taking over what's the date is. So.
All right, Good Will Hunting versus Hitch. I like these movies. 5 minute freeform when one of you starts.
It's been a while. Can I go?
I'll go, Nick. It's fine.
Okay.
All right, yeah. So as you had mentioned, this is a tough thing for a first date because you're looking at a screen. You're not engaging communicatively with that person, so you're doing it through subtle cues, like laughs, like things that might you cry. Hopefully, not cry too much. And when I was thinking about that, like I said, Hitch was something that was light enough that didn't take you out of what it is that you're doing in the situation, but it is something that you can check into time and time. You can laugh. You can have some emotional beats to it. And it's something where you're thinking about dating because it's a movie about dates. Again, you said Good Will Hunting doesn't have like a lot of emotional depth, and I would say like the scene when he's crying and he says it's not your fault. I would say the scene when Ben
No, I
Affleck's
think
talking about.
I think you misheard me. I said it has emotional depth. It just doesn't go to like an awkward place where like you're touching on like taboo subjects that would absolutely scare this person off.
But you're talking about like physical and emotional abuse from childhood, which can be a taboo
like
subject
that
for
Will
first.
has in his past. We don't have to experience it. We just hear him talk about it. It's not awkward. It's not. It's like real. Like you're showing this person that you're real. Like you're serious. You're not a silly person. Sorry if I cut you off, but Hitch is an odd choice to me. On a first date, you're kind of subliminally telling them that you have seen or you're aware of this movie that is specifically designed, or the character is specifically designed to make the other characters manipulate the people they're going on dates with to get them to like them. Weird message to be sent. And I think a first date movie is more for the conversation after. Because quite frankly, if you're talking to me during our movie on my first, I don't like you, the movie's on. Like, you know what I mean?
Well, yeah, but I mean, there might be subtle comments that come about that you can't control. And yeah, there's manipulation at the beginning, but I think when you get to the end, when you recognize when he's talking about rules and that there are no rules, I think there's a good message in that with like relationships are unique and you can't follow a set guidelines. And I think you can talk about Hitch afterwards, thinking about like, what were your worst first dates? Like, did you try thinking about contextualizing what it is you usually do in a date? And did you see any parallels to what? It's not necessarily about like, are you manipulating people? It's do you see parallels in the dating scenes that we had seen? And then you can use that as a conversation piece. I just think like there's a lot of roughness with regards to Good Will Hunting. I think actually, and with regards to what you said about like watching the movie, I might be so engrossed in the movie. I don't know if I would be content with like talking about it afterwards. With like, I might be emotionally dragged down, and I don't know if I actually want to converse with someone after Good Will Hunting.
No. Maybe at one point you hit a lower emotional point, but the end is very fulfilling. Will does what he wants to do, but he's also like fulfilling what other people want him to do. He's doing what his friends want him to do. He's doing what Robin Williams wants him to do. And Robin Williams, quite frankly, will make you feel the best you've ever felt in that movie. Yes, there are emotional low points, but they're not so low that it completely throws this person out of the movie. It gets them to show a little bit of themselves that you want to see on a first date. Like, how are they reacting to this, to some slight emotional pressure? Is that something we're going to be able to talk about in the future? Do I want a second date with them? That's what the low parts of Good Will Hunting to do, but you ultimately leave feeling good. Like, oh, I'm so happy Will got to follow, like went to go see about a girl just like Robin Williams did, and he didn't turn into a bad person like he thought he might. Hitch, at the end, they might say that there's no formula, but we've seen the whole movie that the guy built a career on doing this over and over and over again. So like, like I said at the beginning, it's not what you tell them, it's what they leave feeling. And I think the biggest feeling they'll get from there is like, oh, do men just go around thinking of like game plans to manipulate women? Is that why I was here?
Yeah, but the person who mainly does that, Jeffrey Donovan, is the one who gets like his ass kicked, and he's the one who's put on blast. No, he's Alex Hitchens. What we learn is he doesn't actually get Ava Mendes at the end until not Kevin, but we'll get to it. You don't get Ava Mendes at the end unless he's fully himself and admits to all these things that he was trying to keep bottled up through the courting process. And the other correlationship is Kevin James with Allegra Cole, and that's also the same thing. He has to go and he has to. It's kind of like old style, like Middle English Shakespearean. Like you can't really keep parts of yourself hidden. And that's what like modern society tries to tell us. So it's actually like trying to break down this wall of what modern dating is, where if you're truly yourself, that's when you can find your actual ideal partner. So I think that's what you take away from at the end, much like what you were talking about, if you want to say that with Good Will Hunting. There's a message.
I think that's a bad choice.
All right, we're gonna start closings with Robert. Robert, you get 1 minute to close your argument when you start talking.
I understand Nick's argument with regards to the end about the hopefulness with what happens to Will, but there's also like a counter to that with like Will can't. His decision kind of gets made up for him because that's what his friends and that's what his therapist says, and they're kind of the most influential people. Also, as Nick had alluded to, there are a lot of low points emotionally. There are things that will drag me down. I don't know if I can get back up by the end. And it's such a roller coaster of emotions that I'm not sure that I can express that and be available for someone after with Good Will Hunting. And there's so much going on. It's so engrossing. It's so engaging. That I don't know if I can do it. With Hitch, like I said, it's light and breezy. There's a good message at the end. There are things you can discuss. It's a good runtime. It's somewhat popular, but it's not like the most popular. So it's not like you're choosing something that like everybody would love. It's really funny. Like I said, you can take cues from the person you're with regards to what they laugh at, what they might get emotional to. I think it has the best full gamut of what it is you can gauge from someone by watching Hitch on a first date.
Time. Okay. Let's go over to Nick. Nick, you have 1 minute to close when you start talking.
Hitch cannot simultaneously be the Shakespearean commentary on modern dating at the same time as it's just a light movie that you put on in the background that some people like. I'd rather put on a movie that gets you thinking, that has humorous moments, the how do you like them apples, the scene in the bar with the 50-cent library. All of that is good moments within Good Will Hunting. And yes, there are emotional points because you want to figure out this person a little bit, but you also want to send them on their way feeling good. And yes, the whole point of the movie is Will makes his own choice at the end. The whole time he's been shown what to do by other people, but even though he's supposed to go do this big job, he felt he connected more with Robin Williams says about, I got to go see about a girl. Their love, it's a romantic movie where their love story is not so overbearing that it's like, oh my God, none of the themes are so overbearing that this person is going to be overwhelmed by them. They're just going to say, it's going to get them thinking, and they're going to be like, wow, that was a really good movie. They're not going to remember Hitch other than, oh, this dude was being creepy for 90% of it.
Time. All right. Let's bring in the judges.
Can I ask you, Nick, what was your second choice?
The Truman Show.
Oh, I like it. Mine was Groundhog Day.
Oh, nice.
Yeah.
I'll share with you guys after. There were some weird ass picks.
I bet there were.
There was one that was really popular that like 5 or 6 different people picked, but there were some weird ones.
I would have chose the same thing I chose last time, Coming to America.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah,
All right.
It's a great question. It is a great question.
Okay. This was good. These people are both good at this. Robert, you've challenged for the title before, right? I'm not a crazy person, right?
Yeah. No, I got to a speed round and I lost the Harry Potter question, which Rue agrees with me was ill-conceived.
You did that in the contender match?
I could have sworn.
No, in the
title. That's what I'm saying. You challenged for the title. Is what I meant. Yeah. Okay. So both of these guys have done that, and it shows. Even though Nick doesn't do this much anymore, he argues with me and Anna on like a daily basis.
Every day.
He's good at it. I thought a lot of the choices that were picked were like either romantic, rom-com, romance adjacent, comedy, like lighter stuff, and Nick hit me with Good Will Hunting, and I was like, I don't know how he's going to frame that, but I know Nick has something up his sleeve, and I liked what he did. I thought he had a good framing for why the movie would work. I really love Hitch. I think Robert did a good job of kind of explaining, how it has the gamut of everything, like of emotions. It's got some drama. It's got the comedy. It's got the romance. Like it so you can, and it's like a feel good. Let's sit and enjoy this together. So I think Nick's attack on Hitch of like it's kind of creepy, and she's gonna walk away from the movie feeling kind of like, like what? This is just what men are, or whatever. And I thought was good. I thought that was a good point against Hitch, and I think Robert's kind of main thing against Good Will Hunting was like, yeah, there's some heavy shit, and for a first date, I don't know that necessarily works. So again, a lot of this was even. There was good back and forth. I ultimately went with Robbie Sees. I thought that what kind of wound up winning it for me was Robert really hit on the head, like the Good Will Hunting. At the end of the day, it's
sad.
There is the heavy shit in there, and it is, yes, you might at the end of the day be like, oh my God, like Will, like I'm happy about what he went and did. I have that feeling when the movie ends, like the Robin Williams line, son of a, like, yeah, it's great. But I think what he said about like it engrosses you.
Dad hit him. It's bad.
And there's stuff in there that you might not want to casually talk about with someone afterwards. It worked for me. And I think that this was really great. I'm just a little whew. So Amaru, where are you going?
This was a really good fight. I really liked both of their approaches in terms of not talking about the movie and the movie's merits, but the movie's merits. Well, of course, the movie's merits in the way they are. One's a really good rom-com. I really like Nick's talking about how it makes you kind of see how the person reacts to it, but it isn't so low that it's going to get you there. You feel good at the end of the day. But the context of it's also a date. Are you going to talk about it after? Are you going to talk about it during? Or I like both of their kind of different but somewhat similar approaches to their arguments. The person that won it for me is, and it's hard to like hit every point, but basically as that middle round was going, it's the person whose counters felt more like better counters that convinced me more than the other. And it was actually pretty consistent through that. Robert.
Jeremy, your thoughts.
So one, this is an incredible event. Well done, everyone. I think my favorite realization from the whole thing is that Nick's first date conversation is shut up and watch the movie. I love that.
Obviously,
I'm also glad that this didn't come down to me. I also said, Robert, both of your choices to me are completely insane for a first date. Like that's wild. I hope I get to hear the other choices from everyone. But I think Robert really hammered down the light and breezy. You can react, you can see how each other react, you can talk about it, and nothing's going to get into the realm, probably even remotely too uncomfortable. Whereas with Good Will Hunting, like that is very much probably going to be the case. Even with mature adults, like one might look at the other and go, why? But okay. But no, I went with Robert. But great job, guys. That was as even around as I think we've had.
And Jeremy obviously would have picked Venom, Let There Be Carnage. Your winner, though, is Robert Kastner. We're going to talk to both of them. Nick.
Yeah.
I want to. Accidentally hit mute on my mic. I want to read this out to the audience so they understand how excited you were to get into this final one. If I have to play in a fucking title match, I'm gonna scream. But what I also know about you is that even though that would make you scream,
I would have tried.
You tried hard in this, and I appreciate it. So what? How do you feel? You came back and debate for a thing. How it was fun, right?
I don't like it. I don't feel good when I'm doing it. I don't feel good afterwards, regardless of the outcome. There were many fun moments. I got to talk about the Shawshank Redemption. I got Amadeus Revenge for the last. I think that was my last Fanzone match ever that I've played before, or was against Kirk. And It's fun. I've always been good at the speed round. I think I can come up with some shit real quick. But I usually try and do that with the regular round too, and it doesn't always work. I didn't really think about the main question until very recently. I was like, I'll just pick the one I used to show on first dates. And it did work. I would get second dates, and it was like, that's why I was like, oh, I know this works, but I don't know how to tell people that this works. Like, oddly enough, I didn't show Anna on our first date, and that's the one that stuck. So maybe it is a bad choice. Regardless, I thought I did the best with what I had, and I'm very happy someone else found glory.
What is the first movie you watched with Anna?
I don't know. We listened to a lot of like music the first couple dates. I honestly think it was like Christmas Vacation.
Nice.
Yeah.
Nice. All right, Nick. Well, congrats on a well played event. Will we see you back in the regular season?
Don't count your chickens.
All right. Nick, thanks for being here. Appreciate you, buddy. As we bring in our winner, Robert Kastner, who has earned himself a title shot. Robert, before we get into the event, because there's a lot to go over, what was the first movie you saw with your wife?
That you asked that, and I was hoping I would have my answer, but I honestly don't remember. It's kind of crazy. It's been 11 years, and I don't remember the first thing we saw. I'll ask her, Tim, and I'll get back to you.
I know the first that I saw with Maggie in the theater. It's also been 11 years for us, but I don't know how long or what the first one in general was. We definitely watched it. It was a horror movie. That was my move. I used to always do a horror movie as the first one.
Way to go, man.
Yeah, because then they get scared. Yeah, anyway, Robert, this was great. You had a good run there after you came in a few rounds. You took out Joe twice, which was pretty exciting. And then you ended up winning it all. It was really exciting. I think, and I've said this before, you're one of the best players that we have here in the league, and it showed today. I thought you had really good arguments to make. What are your thoughts?
Yeah, I thought 2026 would start out real poor because I thought Spence had me again. I was like, I can't break Spence in these. I can't do it. And then, fortunately, Rue had a change of heart there right at the end and helped me out. Yeah, this was a great redemption game for me. I got to beat Joe twice, who gave me the loss that made me the most angry of any loss of last year. So
that didn't happen.
I got to beat Spence in this, which was redemption from last year. And then Nick beat me, and then I got to beat him at the end. So, cool. Good for me, man. I'm just my throat's like a little sore right now. And I'm just I was sitting here not doing anything. I just was sit. I had on my water. I wasn't doing anything. You said to sit here, sit tight. And that's literally what I did. I wasn't doing anything. And I don't know why I didn't do anything. I was just locked in. And that was a silly idea. But it worked out. I won. So who knows?
Robert, you got the title shot. You're not peek behind the curtain. I decide when you use that. So you're not going to be playing as in that title shot right away. It'll come later in the year, so we don't know who you're going to be playing yet. Right now, Mr. Moses is the champion. Is that who you want, or do you want someone else? What are you kind of feeling? It's kind of different from last year, where it was Rue just had his eyes set on Mr. Kolakowski. Is that how you're feeling this year, or what kind is your thoughts?
Yeah, I mean, of everybody who I would think about, because I've lost to a bunch of I lost to Jacoby twice. I don't want to debate Jacoby. That's not for me. I think Rue and I had my favorite match that I had last year. It came down speed round. It was split. I think it was as close could be, and he used that to basically springboard himself up to the title shot, and then lost and then came back, if I remember correct. So yeah, I mean, Rue's the person I would most appreciate to do this with. So yeah, everybody else, I could take or leave. But Rue's my best friend for the most part in these leagues, and yeah, we ran in the mud together and stuff. I don't know what to tell you.
Yeah,
nice.
So, yeah, so
I'll
that's
try to still have it by the time you get here, man.
Okay, yeah, please do that. That would be really nice.
Robert, congrats on the win. I look forward to seeing you just in the regular season, but also when that title shot does get used. So, Robert, congrats. And that's going to do it for us today at the event. I do want to get some quick final thoughts from Rue and Jeremy. Jeremy, why don't you kick us off? What did you think? You kind of said it earlier that you thought this was great, but wrap it up in a bow, I guess.
Yeah, I mean, I like the speed round aspect of this. Like, I think this is what I would enjoy. I can't wait to do my first one, but everybody's stuck to their guns. Like, there was no meandering. Nobody really got off topic or off point, and there wasn't time to do that anyway. So kudos to every player. Like, every round was close. Every matchup was great. We had bonus. You had an extra round out of this. That's cool. But yeah, just well done. And, thanks for having me on.
Yeah, thank you. And Mr. Moses, your thoughts?
I love anytime debate gets more shine and more people. I think I said from the very first time I came on debate, this is my shit. I love trivia, but I will talk shit and love this because I argue probably just as much as Nick does on a day-to-day basis. And this was a whole lot of fun. I'm glad this is my first thing I got to judge. So now people can decide whether or not they hate me or love me as a judge. Take it or leave it. But yeah, everybody did really, really well. A lot of them were very close. There was a good couple of them that, like, I am, again, not positive I made the choice I would have made another day. But at the moment, I'm going to stick to mine, and I made the choices I made. That's because everybody brought it, and I really enjoyed witnessing this.
Yeah, absolutely. Thank you all so much for watching. Thank you for everybody who participated, judged. We appreciate you. Thank you to the other people behind the scenes who help make this show run, like Mr. Tuig, like Mr. Kolakowski, Mr. Menchaca, and Mr. Brian Michaels. I've been Tim. We're going to see you back real soon because our next episode is Root trying to defend his belt against Mr. Kolakowski. It's happening again. It's happening again. So we'll see what happens, but that's up next. Thank you guys for watching. Be sure to tune into everything else going around here at TBNT Inc. We'll see you next time. Bye.
Hands, touching hands, reaching out, touching me, touching you. Sweet Caroline. Fuck!